Hello everyone and welcome back to Crowley House. Today I have to deadhead my roses. It is mid-July or almost mid-July and our roses have done their beautiful flush. It started back at the end of May and went through June, and now most of them are piddling out, and so it's time to just go ahead and do the thing, cut them back so that we can get more bloom. So I'm just going to take you through as I do a few of the roses. Here on the farm we have a lot of roses, and I'm not going to do all of them this year. I have plans for some of the bigger ones, or the big plot in the back. So we're going to be taking those out. You guys know that. I've talked about that before. So what I'm going to do now is just do the roses that are up here at the house. Also, what we have going on, we're going to check in with Riley in the studio, but she's got a few events this week and it's really pretty, so I thought maybe I would take you into the studio this week and just kind of show you some of the flower designs that we're doing, because a lot of them are with roses. Not all of them did we grow, but we did have some of them, and it's just a really pretty design. It's kind of a trending wedding design, so I thought I would do that. I have to cut for it a little bit as well this morning. I'm going to start off with deadheading, give you my little tutelage on that, what I like to do this time of year, especially since if you're growing roses for cut flower production, or if you're growing roses like us, we're growing them mainly for our weddings and event designs. We want them to flush again and flush hard, so we're going to do all the things to make them beautiful. This time of year, the gardens are flushing beautiful. They're just coming into full bloom, and it's the peak of the season, but also with that comes heat waves that run in and out of the season, and we just came off of one. It was over 100 degrees for about 5 days. Today is the first day that we've actually had a little bit of cool. It's supposed to be, I think, 90. Trying to keep the flowers watered has just been a chore, because you're working out in the sun and in the heat, and it doesn't matter, but the love of the garden keeps you going. So setting sprinklers and keeping the water going on the hanging baskets and all the new plants that we planted out, little seedlings that are still going, has been quite the chore and can wear a gardener down. I don't know about you. Leave me a note in the comment if you've been struggling with this as well. It's so hard when you've put so much work into the garden and you're losing things, or you're feeling like you're losing this battle. But now that we've made it through the other side of this heat wave, I'm feeling like, okay, there's a lot that made it, and I did good, and the battle was won for the most part. Lost a few things, but that's the challenge of gardening, and I think that's what keeps us all motivated and going and inspired and, occasionally defeated. Anyways, today is absolutely beautiful, and so I'm gonna head out. Got my clippers, got my gloves, got my wheelbarrow, and I'm going to start trimming the roses before the sun comes up. It's a little chilly out, so I went and grabbed a little sweater. Anyways, okay, so today what I thought I would do is just go through different ways of cutting roses. There's a lot of roses out there, and rose videos on trimming your roses. I'm just going to show you kind of what I do here on the farm, and I'm going to take you through some of the different types. So we have like this beautiful little spray rose that is kind of waning, and I think it's because of that heat wave that we just came through. It definitely is looking scorched, so I'm going to be taking that back again. I'm also going to be taking back some of the hybrid teas, and then I'm going to be doing my David Austin. So I've got a Lynchfield Angel and a Queen of Sweden and a few others that I'm going to be working on this morning, but those are on my list for today. It's really important when you have a lot of roses just to kind of chunk it out. That way you can enjoy the job, because otherwise it can be a little bit strenuous. So what I like to do is, like this morning, I poured myself a cup of coffee. I've got my clippers, I've got my wheelbarrow, I've got all my things, and I'm enjoying this beautiful cool morning, which has been really nice, because I tell you, it has been so hot lately. Anyways, that being said, I'm enjoying the garden again this morning. So I'm gonna go through and I'm just going to, you know, enjoy this job and pick a few of my favorites and talk through how I do it with each variety. So this one here is this beautiful little pink spray rose, and it actually dries pretty well. If you can get to it before it totally blooms out. Super pretty little pink, but it's here, up here at the garden, just by the house where we just did a little bit of work here the other day in last week's video, I think, or a week before. Anyways, so this one just needs to be cut back. And so you can see these long arms, which we like to use this one actually in weddings. We just didn't have any pink weddings when this was blooming at its peak. So what you want to do with any rose, no matter what it is like this is considered, look at that big clump, oh my goodness. Just considered one big stem. So you want to follow it down. So this is the flower head. So you would consider this basically almost like a single rose, and then you want to follow it down to the first set of 5 leaves or below. So here it's notching, and I want to go just past that. I'm going to follow it down, and then here is the new growth. So here is all the way down where the flower head is. We're going to follow it up, and I'm going to cut it right there. Now I'm going to cut it at 1/4 of an inch above that leaf node. So you're looking for those 5 leaves or more. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I'm going to cut it right there. And part of the reason is, if you look at this bush, is it's got a nice mounded feel to it. And these kind of spider off like that. And so I wanted to give it a little bit of shape. So I'm not only cutting it to get another flush, I'm cutting this to also be able to have a beautiful shape to this rose bush. And then, if you can imagine, stepping back, then it's just going to really showcase all this beauty underneath and allow more light, and that's going to shine and just be able to grow a little bit better underneath. Okay, so here we go. So here's my leaf, and I'm just going to do about 1/4 of an inch. Now, some people say to cut it at an angle. There's our cut. So there is our cut right there. It's just a little bit shy of that leaf, and we will continue. Okay, so I got this little rose bush kind of under control. Now, so I just got all the blooms off basically and kind of cut some of the longer whips into where the 5 leaf nodes were, cut them 1/4 of an inch above that so that they'll rebloom and flush. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of look at it for shape and kind of shape it a little bit. Now, not every rose is like this. So you kind of have to like, it's not like when you're winter pruning or something like that where you're really cutting down. You're just kind of giving your rose a nice fluffing basically. So I'm going to give this a fluff really quick. And then we're going to head on over and we're going to do some hybrid teas and get those going and kind of show you that. And then we're going to head over to the David Austins. So this beautiful rose is a floribunda, which means that it's an older variety of rose. It's kind of a single petal. It's been here. I don't know the name of this one, unfortunately, but it was here at the house when we moved in. But you can see it just puts up these beautiful sprays. They don't hold well in arrangements or anything like that, so we just enjoy it in the garden. But now, as you can see, these huge sprays of roses are done, and so I'm going to be cutting those back. This one here, I believe it's called Cityscape. It's a floribunda, and it kind of has this beautiful scent of light raspberry, really, really soft, but it's excellent for cutting. So this one is a keeper. We bought this one from Heirloom Roses when we were first married, and I moved it from house to house. I had a red rose growing up, and so my parents bought it when I was born. I think it was probably like Abe Lincoln or something like that, but I liked this one. I'm not sure if this is the variety or not. There's so many red roses out there, but anyways, this one is beautiful, and so I'm gonna get that one back into shape as well. So we've got both of these. That one's an old hybrid tea, and then this is a floribunda floribunda, and we're going to treat them both the same. We're just going to come in. And one thing I'd like to note is to make sure that you clean your clippers between each rose. And if you do have a large wound, you can sometimes, I don't do this, but people do, you can put a little bit of wound care or glue on it to make sure that no disease or anything gets in it. I don't do that, but anyways, that's something you can do. So I'm going to tackle both these roses, and I wanted to show you really quickly too why we deadhead roses is because a rose will send off a rose hip, which is the seed of a rose, and it stops, it's signaling to the plant like we're done blooming, we are ready to set seed, we want to make more babies, and you're saying I want more blooms. So this is why we do all this hard work for those beautiful blooms to continue through summer. I have most of the roses completed. I just left a few that are still blooming. If this is, say you are having a garden party and you just want to clean it up a little bit, you can actually just reach in here and just snip off like some of the little blooms and just kind of tidy it up that way. Just makes for like a nicer show. Basically, I mean, I could pull that one off too if I wanted to, but if it was just in the garden, I would just leave it for now. Okay, on to the next. So this beautiful rose behind me is called Hot Cocoa, and we got a load of these Hot Cocos in, which I love this color, and this is kind of the new, I would say, wedding trend that we see is kind of like this terracotta, burnt orange, and then, this yummy, it's kind of like a red terracotta, like a deeper terracotta color when it ages. So it's been really popular this year. I am going to be cutting a few of these. I've got more of them out in the main field, but I'm going to be cutting a few of these for, we have a reception dinner, or we have a rehearsal dinner that we will be styling this week as well. So I thought these are still pretty good. Since I'm going through and kind of deadheading all these roses, there was like 2 or 3 stems off of this one that I'm going to cut. This rose was introduced in 2003, I believe, in the United States, and it was bred by Tom Carruth in 2002, I believe, and then introduced to the United States in 2003. So it's a fairly new rose. So this is a floribunda, which is a newer variety that's a little bit more resistant to powdery mildew, black spot, all the diseases and bugs and different things like that. So less spraying to keep it under control, which is really nice. But you can't beat some of those old heirloom roses that I absolutely love. So I'm going to give this one a little bit of a haircut and trim, and then move on to the David Austins. Those are my last ones I believe I'm doing today. I got to help Riley in the studio, and it's just, this is life. So I'm trying really hard, just because we are technically what they call a farmer florist, or we're a florist that actually grows a majority of our flowers this time of year, and then we do order in some from our wholesaler. I'm trying to just do a little bit of farming every morning, every evening. It makes for really long days, and then head into the studio during the heat of the day and do design work with Riley if she needs me. She doesn't always need me, so if she doesn't need me, I'm just stuck out here in the garden, and that's not a bad place to be for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna get the couple good blooms off and keep working before it gets too hot. So I got this whole area cleaned up, and it's looking much, much better. This will flush again shortly. You can already see, because we've cut on these a little bit already, you can see the new growth and new buds coming, which is really fantastic. So I'm gonna have some already. Look at these little daisies, you guys. Aren't they cute? We cut on these yesterday because I needed a little extra for an event I was doing. So they got some holes, but oh, look how pretty those are. There's something so classic about that, right? Okay, so then we got the other roses done. This is that hot cocoa, which is really pretty. You can find these readily available at any garden center, or if you're a wholesaler like me, where you can buy wholesale, you can buy them from Weeks Roses is where we got these from. So anyways, they're so pretty. Here's the bucket of blooms that I cut for our event, and this is tomorrow, so some of these might not be good, but I'm gonna keep those. Aren't those gorgeous? Oh, hot cocoa, you guys. Lovely. Love it. So a lot of times when I'm done cleaning up my roses this time of year, because we use them for cut production, we want to give it a little bit of fertilizer. I just like to use an organic fertilizer or even just alfalfa. So you can find alfalfa in big bags. It's super inexpensive and it's like crumbled up and crushed. And then I just do a little bit of compost and mix that in and give it a little bit of water with a hose, and then we're good to go. Or if you're in big production, you would just do a little bit of, just turn your water on basically. But that's what I like to do. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is kind of watch the weather. Now we have several days of this cooling trend after that huge heat wave. If we were to have this heat wave come and I was cutting these roses and doing these fertilizers and all that kind of stuff, the rose might not like it, partly because the new growth that's coming off of that will potentially just burn or wilt. Even with this heat wave that we had, mature leaves kind of crisped up and burnt a little bit. So you just want to be a little careful and mindful of what your weather is doing when you go to do this. Now, the other thing I do when I clean, this just gives me a good chance to kind of get all those little baby weeds that are coming on this time of year. Oh my God, you guys. I don't know about you, but the weeds this time of year, it just, it's so hard. It's just so hard to keep control of them. And so this is a time where they're small enough and you can kind of get in there and take your, it just makes it easy to kind of get them out. Okay, so I'm going to start on, we have a Lynchfield Angel that we're doing, and then we have the Queen of Sweden that we're deadheading as well. And both of them have a little bit of different growing habits, but similar, I guess. It's all pretty much the same. The other thing I was going to tell you guys is there are some roses, more the old-fashioned type or like knockout. You'll see knockout used in landscapes a lot of times as a shrub rose, and those basically shrivel up, dry up, and then let their petals fall, and so you don't have to deadhead them as much. I mean, you could, if you were like, again, having a garden tour or something like that, go through and kind of clean them up, even with just your hands, kind of plucking them off, but you don't need to do like the pruning that we do here. So the other reason that you might not want to cut back a rose is if you're growing the rose for a rose hip. So a lot of times in fall wreath making or just in fall arrangements, we like to use a rose hip, which is orange, and they come in like several different colors. A friend of mine is a dried floral production farm, basically. They also do fresh, but they do a ton of beautiful dried flowers. And in the fall, one of their specialties is the beautiful rose hip. So she grows two varieties. She sent me a little video here that is her roses in full production. They're still putting on their rose hip. They've just finished blooming. They're sputtering out, but she's not going to deadhead these. She's not going to cut them back. They're purely grown for the beautiful rose hip. The two varieties that she's growing is Rossi Sensation and Rose Hip Sensation. So both of those are classics on her farm and beautiful. So that would be the other reason that you might not want to cut back your rose. Okay. Oh, the sun feels so good. I was freezing. Ooh, on we go. Almost done for today's chore, and then we'll have more of this in the weeks to come, you guys. Oh, I have so much to do. Can't look at the whole picture, chunk it out. Like I said at the beginning of the video, like I'm gonna take my own advice and just say, you know what? I can only do so much, and we have really long days right now. We start work at like 5 o'clock in the morning and then end, last night I went in almost 10 o'clock. We have really long days here in the Pacific Northwest, so we can still work late, and when it's hot during the midday, it's nice to have those hours of cooling time. All right, onward. So I also Also keep in mind that when I'm cutting my roses, I am looking for a good spot where the leaf is kind of coming out. So when the growth comes off, the new growth, that it's kind of creating that vase type shape or the V shape. Like in the winter when we're cutting, we're always looking for kind of like the outward facing, opening up the center a little bit. So I'm always kind of keeping that in mind as well. And partly because like some of these roses, like this Queen of Sweden that I'm cutting here, is used for cut production. We want nice sturdy stems. So I'm cutting down a little bit deeper than I would normally, almost as if I was cutting it for, you know, a vase or something like that. So I'm almost cutting it as if it was a fresh, beautiful bloom and taking it down to that point. And then I'm going to get a really nice, strong, sturdy stem that is going to be able to be used later. So those are a couple pro tips as far as being a, you know, using roses in floral design is, you know, kind of some things that we do here. So I wanted to give you another example of when I'm talking about an outward facing leaf. You do not have to do this by any means. I just do it because we have everything kind of tightly packed in, and we're also cutting these for floral production. So for us, it actually works a little bit better. But like I said, if you just, you could totally skip this part if you wanted to. So what this does is, so I'm taking this is the spent head of the flower. This is Lynchfield Angel. And I'm gonna go down, and this is the first set of 5 leaves. And because this is the first one going this direction, and then I have another one coming this direction and another one that one. So I have choices of which way I want it to come. But I think for today's example, I'm gonna show you, we're gonna cut it right here, just a 1/4 of an inch above, and there's my snip. So now this is coming off this way. We're gonna have another growth coming this way and out and flushing beautiful for us to use later. I'm almost done. Ah! So the duck and geese have been coming up to the house every day, or just little areas that I've set around, little water oasis for them. We had some extra water buckets, and they love it when it's this hot. So it's been kind of fun just seeing them kind of tootle the gardens and enjoy the space. I just watered here with the sprinkler, and they're just having fun. So I was doing my routine watering, you know, around the house kind of thing, and all of a sudden I saw the ducks come by, and Gertrude was leading them, of course. And I thought, where'd they go? I thought they just went to the orchard. We have a little gate that closes on the front of our property, but it wasn't closed, and they have never left. And a few minutes later, a huge tractor comes, like a combine comes by, and slows way down, and I'm like, I wonder if the ducks and the goose left. Okay, so anyways, the ducks decided to just go and venture down the road, and apparently, so I had Braden come help me. He got them all back except for one, and they're stuck in some berry bushes, so I'm gonna go help him get the last duck out. And yeah, it's always something around here. Animals, they're so funny. They are a lot of fun, but you know, there's always something that happens. The tractor, I'm surprised it didn't like run it over. Like I thought of that really quickly because he was coming pretty fast, and I thought, we're gonna have to start closing the gate. Well, the day got away with me. I finished the roses. I got them all trimmed up and got a little bit of fertilizer down again with a little bit of alfalfa, just kind of worked it in, and set the timer for the watering system, let it run a second time. You can tell already things are looking a lot better. You know, jobs like this, like trimming and pruning roses, like sometimes in your head you think that it's going to be this huge job, but in the end it's very relaxing and I love it. So I enjoyed myself thoroughly this morning and just finished up this evening. Kind of took that middle section and worked with Riley in the studio on her events that we've got coming up. So we're also doing the wedding as well, but that'll be on next week's video, where we're going to be setting up a huge, it's pretty big wedding, so it's kind of fun. It's got some fun elements to it, so I thought you guys might like to see what we were doing there. But okay, until next time, much success in all you do and grow, and we'll be seeing you shortly back here at Crowley House very soon. Bye-bye.